Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Ketogenic Fasting Project. Thanks for watching my video. I made this one because I wanted to try and do another basic sort of back to basics video to give some people the idea of what you do and why you might want to do it. And I was thinking, do you ever remember talking about grandparents or great grandparents, and you're like, man, they ate bacon and pork chops and, drank half and half and whatever, whole milk, and, they didn't seem to get heart disease or cancer or whatever. That might be the kind of thing that's vaguely remembered by my generation and completely forgotten or unknown by the generation after me. I'm not sure, but I remember that coming up a lot. And that was before all this scare on dietary fat. And kind of the concept has been now that dietary fat can actually be protective of your heart. It can actually be protective against cancer. And maybe we shouldn't be so afraid of natural fats like animal fats. Maybe it's the artificial fats like partially hydrogenated vegetable oil that's really the culprit, and also the very high carbohydrate or high sugar diet that we were on because we took the fat out of our diet. So I'm going to talk a little more about why you might want to be on a ketogenic diet and how you might do that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I mentioned before, I think that I'm trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. That's kind of the cutoff point to get somewhere on YouTube. So anyways, if you could subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And if you could recommend any one of these videos and maybe subscribing to somebody else who might enjoy the information, as well as give me a thumbs up, like the video. Appreciate it. So the idea is that basically over the last 50 years, the dietary advice has really been bad, and we're starting to realize that because there's been so many tests that have been done, and the data wasn't what they thought it would be. We can talk about why this happened, but the truth is, high blood sugar seems to be one of the major causes of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, obesity, dementia, and joint pain, and the list goes on, but I don't want to make the list too long. It doesn't do much good to make a slide that's got 5 billion possibilities on it, much less have a podcast or a video that's too long, or people just won't get not enough people will get into it if it's too long. So I try and keep them as short as possible. High blood sugar may be the root cause of high blood pressure. It certainly is known to cause inflammation. It can cause bones to weaken. It can deplete vitamins and minerals. We all know it causes tooth decay. I mean, everybody knows you get cavities from eating too much sugar. So, and more and more are starting to understand that it's connected to poor sleep, lack of sleep quality, and also it could cause insomnia. A change in diet can reverse disease. Now, there's a bit of a battle going on between plant-based diets that avoid animal protein and animal fat, and diets that are rich in animal protein and animal fat, particularly animal fat now. But it's kind of a no-brainer that if you stop eating carbohydrates, your blood sugar goes down. There are some people that believed that animal fat was clogging the insulin receptors on cells, but that doesn't really seem to pan out. In fact, if you go on a low carbohydrate or a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet, blood sugar goes down and eventually stabilizes nicely. So this is something everybody can check with a meter, and I recommend everybody, if you're going to change your diet, get to know your blood sugar no matter what diet you go on. A lower carbohydrate diet tends to reduce inflammation in the body. There's an argument to be made that certain types of carbohydrates don't cause inflammation, and of course, it might all be relative to the individual and the absolute quantity of carbohydrate. But to be sure, everyone agrees that you eat refined carbohydrates and concentrated sugars, that you're more likely to not only rot out your teeth, but to have swelling in your body. Getting off of a carbohydrate-rich diet is also known to improve cognition, and there's studies going on now to show that it seems to reverse certain types of dementia or Alzheimer's. It can reverse the clogging of arteries. The clogging of arteries is caused by inflammation, and when you get on a low inflammatory diet, that tends to go away. The atherosclerosis will slowly clear out. Curing type 2 diabetes is probably the low-hanging fruit here, because type 2 diabetes is really a disease of too much sugar. So too much sugar causes insulin resistance, and forcing all that extra sugar into the tissues of your body just causes more diseases like dementia and neuropathy and blindness and all sorts of stuff. And when you get on a high-fat diet, people report sleeping much deeper. I know I do. So that's some of the reasons why you might want to get on a ketogenic diet, and maybe even a carnivore diet, or certainly look into the low carbohydrate diets. Uh, the high fat diet tends to lower appetite. You may seem like you have a normal appetite in the beginning, and it tends to taper off, and you also start losing your cravings for sweets and bread and stuff like that. It tends to just kind of go away on its own. We could talk more about why that is, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before in other podcasts, but we'll just kind of barely touch on it here. It makes it longer. It makes it easier to go longer in between meals because you stay satisfied and don't have as many cravings. So when you're not eating as frequently, your insulin level is lower, and also fat in itself does not inspire as much insulin to be released into the bloodstream. So when you do eat something fatty, you get a small dose of insulin as opposed to eat something that's rich in carbohydrates. You don't get that brain fog, and you don't get tired after lunch like a lot of people do. I don't know, people eat cereal or whatever for breakfast, and then they get kind of foggy, or after lunch they want to take a nap. That kind of goes away when you're on a high fat diet. You don't really experience it anymore because your blood sugar is not going up and down. I know when I was a kid, they said, oh, well, that's just because of blood is being diverted to your stomach for digestion, so your brain doesn't have enough blood. Well, I'm pretty sure that's not actually the case. You might be diverting some blood down to your digestive tract, but I don't think that's why you're tired. So you tend to feel better. People tend to improve their mood, and they just feel happier or calmer overall. Your hormones tend to normalize. People have hormone issues tend to have their hormones get back in line. Your blood sugar will be steady and your insulin will be low. So those are some of the benefits of being on a high-fat ketogenic diet. Since you feel better, people often are not only happier and calmer, but they have more energy, so they want to do more stuff, right? So as much as you don't want to, overshoot your boundaries out of the gate and hurt yourself, you will want to be more active. At the very least, you want to walk around more and be more active, and it's an opportunity to get into shape. That's for sure. Uh, People tend to experience a lot less pain because you're going to have less inflammation. So as you experience less pain, you're also freer to move around and enjoy life. Uh, Tissues like joints and muscles, they have to be regenerated all the time. And on a diet like this, when the inflammation is lower and the materials to rebuild joints and muscles are available, they will repair themselves. I myself had a number of injuries that were many years old that I thought I was stuck with for the rest of my life, and they healed up when I went on this diet. So I think that's a big incentive, and I think people who are suffering from, torn shoulders, blown discs, bad knees, they ought to give it a try and see if it helps them. It increase your endurance, that's for sure. You can go quite a bit farther on a fat fueled. Your body can store more fat, and you're not going through that cycle of blood sugar going up and down. So you're kind of at a more steady energy pace all the time, which is really nice, especially if you want to do a lot, go on a long walk or run, or you just got a lot to do, whatever it is, chopping wood or walking through the forest, it doesn't really matter. You have a lot more endurance. Maybe you just need that for work, for whatever job you're doing, or maybe you want it for a hobby, but it makes things more possible for sure. And you don't have to eat as much. You don't have to stop and eat as much. You don't have to wash as many dishes. You don't have to spend as much money. It may seem more expensive in the beginning, but you're going to realize over time that you're buying less food. Even you can buy higher quality, more expensive food, and in the end, you're going to spend less money on your grocery bill. You're going to spend less time cooking and less time eating. And it's not really about robbing people of the pleasure of eating. It's just that you just don't need it as much anymore. And if you can get your caloric intake down over time, it's just going to be that much easier to stay in shape. You'll have a lower calorie demand, and you won't feel hungry. That's the golden ticket right there, because lower caloric intake is really associated with longevity as well. So remember that the dietary fat is okay. It's not the evil villain that we once thought it was. Inflammation in the arteries causes heart disease, not dietary fat and cholesterol. But remember to avoid foods that cause inflammation like sugar and lectins, etc. You can learn more about that, but that's the trade-off. If you reduce the inflammation in your body, a lot of these diseases will go away. So again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, stay curious, stay inspired, and I sincerely hope this helps somebody out there.